Hi, using the OpenAI API, we are going to take a look at structured outputs. Using structured outputs, you can restrict the output of an LLM to a specific format using a JSON schema. So in this video, we are going to take a look at how structured outputs work. Using the OpenAI API, not all the OpenAI models support structured output. To get started, you should visit the structured output section of the OpenAI API and scroll down on this page. Over here, they have specific models that support structured outputs. So in our example, we are going to use one of these models to demonstrate how structured outputs work. If I scroll down further, over here you can see structured outputs are in two formats. We have function calling. You can use a function calling structured output to connect an LLM to a function, tool, or data. The other form is response format. So with the response format, you can use a JSON schema to structure the output of an LLM when it responds to a user prompt. Apart from using these specific models from the OpenAI API, you can also use Ollama. So you can use Ollama to constrain the output of an LLM to a specific format. Over here, you can see they have some use cases. So you can use it to extract data from documents. You can also use it to extract information from unstructured data like images. I will show another example for images in a later video. So if you want to use Ollama structured outputs, you have two options. You can use the Python library or JavaScript. If you choose to use Python, you should install it with this command or install the JavaScript version with npm. So in our example, we are going to use the OpenAI API. I have already created a project for this in Cursor. So I'm going to launch Cursor. The first thing you should do is to install OpenAI and Pydantic. After the installation, you make these two imports, OpenAI and the base model from Pydantic. Next, you create a new OpenAI client to make an API call. Then using Pydantic, you define a response format. So over here, we have a class calendar event. You can see here, we are passing the base model we imported from Pydantic. So with the calendar event class, we have all these fields. The name of the event as a string, the date as a string, the time, location, and participants as a list. If you like, you can add some other fields as well. For example, if we want to add organizer, that will also be a string. So this is how you can define your response format using Pydantic. Next, we create a new instance of the OpenAI chat completion and specify the model we want to use. As I told you before, not all the OpenAI models support structured outputs. If you want to know the specific model you want to use, you should come to the Structured Outputs API and scroll down to the section where they have supported models and try any one of these. You can also try the models from the OpenAI playground. So from our example, you can see we are using one of the models. Next, we add a messages field consisting of two rows, a system and user. So here we specify a specific content for the system and also a content for the user. Since over here we added an organizer, we can modify the user content to mention the organizer. The last requirement for the chat completion instance is the response format. And over here we are using the calendar event we defined here using Pydantic. Next, we create a new event from the chat completion and print it out. So this is everything we need to do to implement a structured output using the OpenAI API. To use the Python library, you first install Pydantic and OpenAI. You create a new OpenAI client to make an API call. Then you use Pydantic to define your response format, the fields and data types you want to display. Then you use the chat completion API and specify your model, messages, and the response format. To run the file, I will first navigate to the directory containing the file. Then I will run the file with Python tray, followed by the file name. On the top right, you can see we have getStructuredResponse.py. I'm going to expand the terminal and press the return key to run it. So you have noticed here the model was able to extract all the information we specified. We have the name as iOS Meetup, the date, time, location, and participants. You have noticed the organizer is still mixing. This is because in the user content, we didn't specify the organizer. So let's modify the content to include the organizer. So I'm going to clear everything here and run the file again. You have noticed here we now have the organizer as iOS Dev Happy Hour. The next thing we can do is to also display the information in a JSON format. So let's scroll up. First, we need to install JSON and import it. Then if I scroll down, we need to modify the code a bit. I will add a comment to this print statement and uncomment these ones. Over here, we create a new variable that converts our event output to a JSON format using the model dump method. Then we print it out and add an indentation of 2. So let's go back to the terminal and clear everything and run it again. So we now have the output as JSON with each field on a new line. To highlight the fields with color, we can select everything here, and also in cursor we can add it to chart. So we have all the fields in one color and their content in another color. So this is how to get started with structured outputs using the OpenAI API. With structured outputs, you can constrain the output of an LLM to a specific format using a JSON schema. If you like, you can also run it as a local LLM using Ollama.